Welcome everyone. Today we're diving into a beautifully crafted visual explainer to unpack an incredibly intense, almost cinematic geopolitical scenario straight from our source material. We're going to break down the anatomy of a major modern crisis, unpacking every tactical move, diplomatic chess piece, and massive technological leap. Okay, let's dive into this. How exactly do nuclear-armed neighbors navigate a major terror attack without triggering total war? It's literally the ultimate high-stakes type of war. The source material outlines this staggering sequence of events: a calculated dance of retaliation, cutting-edge tech, and frantic diplomacy. Let's take it right back to the beginning. Section 1. The Pahalgam Terror Attack. So, it all started on April 22nd. According to the source, the picturesque Viceroy Valley right near Pahalgam became the site of an absolute tragedy. Militants emerged from the woods and singled out tourists entirely based in the neighborhood. Tragically, 26 people, including a Nepali national, were killed. The sheer scale of the civilian carnage sent absolute shockwaves through the country. It was so severe that the Indian Prime Minister literally cut short a foreign visit to Saudi Arabia, rushing home to lead an emergency security meeting. And this brilliantly illustrates how the initial response was entirely not connected. You see, before a single weapon was fired, India initiated this massive, highly structured diplomatic retaliation. The famous Indus Water Treaty of 1960? Suspended. The Atari checkpost was closed immediately. SAARC visa exemptions for Pakistani nationals were completely cancelled, and the High Commission staff was drastically slashed from 55 people down to just 30. Basically, it was a comprehensive diplomatic freeze designed to squeeze the adversary on multiple fronts right out of the gate.
Section 2. Executing Operation Sindoor. Now the timeline jumps forward to May 7th. After whittling down a list of 34 potential targets, using some very detailed cost-benefit analyses, the Indian military executed what they called Operation Sindoor. According to the source, the Indian Prime Minister himself actually chose this name. It was a direct tribute to the women widowed by that horrific April 22nd attack. The operation successfully targeted and destroyed 9 specific terrorist camps.
But what's absolutely critical to understand here are the core tenets of this strike. The source notes the Indian government explicitly framed this action as focused, measured, and non-escalatory. They aimed right at the heart of organizations like Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, hitting deep inside Pakistani territory, in places like Muridke and Bahawalpur. But here's the really crucial operational mandate. They operated with clinical precision specifically to avoid Pakistani military and civilian establishments. The whole goal was to punish the proxy groups without forcing an all-out conventional war.
Section 3. Escalation and Info Warfare.
Well, the very next day, May 8th, the scenario details that Pakistan chose to escalate things. They attempted to hit Indian military targets across the western border, stretching from Avantipura all the way to Bhuj. And guys, the scale here was massive. We're talking about an attempted intrusion of approximately 400 drones along the border. Plus, at the exact same time, this huge information warfare campaign was unleashed across news networks and social media.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the technology that actually handled this 400 drone swarm. The source credits an indigenous system called a Kashmir. And listen, this isn't your granddad's radar. It's a fully autonomous, AI-driven C4 ISR system. It essentially creates a seamless combat cloud, unifying radars and sensors. And unlike conventional systems that rely heavily on human command chains, a Kashmir can see, decide, and act completely autonomously to neutralize incoming threats. It's just a fascinating glimpse into the future of automated air defense.
So while the AI was fighting in the skies, a parallel war was happening in the media. The source highlights this fascinating contradiction from a Sky News interview. On one hand, the Pakistani information minister claimed absolutely no terror camps exist in the country. But right there, the interviewer countered by citing recent public admissions from their own defense minister, Khawaja Asif, and former minister Bilawal Bhutto, both of whom had publicly acknowledged a history of funding and backing proxy groups. The source also points out another glaring contradiction that played out very publicly. Following the Indian strikes on the terror camps, Pakistani officials reportedly accorded state funerals to the eliminated individuals, even wrapping their coffins in the national flag. As the source notes, giving state honors to people you officially deny exist as state-backed operatives, well, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it severely undercut the official narrative.
Section 4. The Final Counterattack.
The escalation here gets incredibly rapid. On May 9th, right at 10:30 p.m., the U.S. contacts India with a dire intelligence warning.
a massive Pakistani attack is imminent. The Indian Prime Minister makes it crystal clear they are going to respond with double the intensity. Right after midnight, that escalatory attack arrives, involving drones and high-speed missiles. And by dawn on May 10th, India unleashes its heaviest counterattack yet.
The source describes this dawn response as a ferocious 23-minute blitz. India hit 9 military bases, including Rafiki, Rahim Yar Khan, and crucially the Noor Khan Air Base, which is right next to the Pakistani Army headquarters in Rawalpindi. They used a highly sophisticated arsenal, Scalp, Hammer, and BrahMos missiles. And perhaps most significantly from a tactical standpoint, they completely bypassed and jammed the Chinese-supplied air defense systems, wrapping up the entire mission in under half an hour. Let's move to and see how this builds, because the sheer intensity of that 23-minute blitz forced an immediate, frantic diplomatic scramble. Step 1. Unnerved by the strikes, Pakistani leadership urgently reaches out to the U.S. Secretary of State. Step 2. The U.S. immediately gets on the phone with India's External Affairs Minister. And Step 3. The Pakistani Director General of Military Operations calls his Indian counterpart to secure a ceasefire. 3 rapid steps that finally pulled the region back from the brink.
Section 5. Establishing the new normal. Now we can slow down a bit and look at the aftermath. The source outlines what security analysts are calling the new normal doctrine, established by the Indian Prime Minister. It basically consists of 3 permanent shifts in posture. First, there will be a fitting severe response to every future terror attack. Second, an absolute zero-tolerance policy for nuclear blackmail, meaning the threat of nuclear war will no longer serve as a shield for terror camps. And third, India will no longer make any distinction between the proxy terrorists and the government sponsors who support them.
So the crucial point is perfectly captured in this summary quote from the analysts in our source. They note that historically, strong statements were usually made in anticipation of an attack, but here, the posture is, I will respond in a manner that hits the heart of the terror machine, and I will not make any difference between the masterminds and government-sponsored terrorism. And the real kicker is that this is being stated after the action has already been decisively taken. It signifies a historic shift in how state-sponsored terrorism is handled in the region. Which leaves us with this final, profound question to think about. In an era where AI-driven defenses like Kashmir can neutralize massive drone swarms entirely on their own and relentless info warfare runs right alongside precision strikes, has the threshold for nuclear escalation permanently shifted? Can modern technology actually manage conflict between nuclear-armed neighbors without triggering the ultimate catastrophe? It's a pretty terrifying reality of modern geopolitics. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep asking the hard questions.